All right.
So, well, oh.
I was just going to introduce you, but you can introduce yourself.
Oh, that's nice, Megan. Thank you.
Yeah, well, yes, of course. You deserve the introduction. Welcome to Kim's presentation on makerspaces in an asynchronous world. I'm personally really excited for this one because I want to see how this is done. And like I said, Terry was going to say a few nice things to you about you, that you've hosted over 20 family makerspace nights, which is really impressive. And so without further ado, take it away.
Why, thank you. In fact, we just had a virtual STEAM night, which was inspired by the whole mystery box idea. So we did mystery bags and kids picked up the mystery bags. And just like our lunchtime project, I gave them stuff and we did like 4 challenges. So anyway, that was really successful. And so now I have 3 other sites that are wanting to do it with me. So let's begin. So there's a bit.ly up here so that you have access, and feel free to make a copy and delete, make changes, do what you need to do. And then also, Megan, I'm not very good at the chat. So if you help me with that, that would be awesome, because I get carried away. And so anyway, so let's begin. I want to kind of make sure we're all talking about the same definition, because there are lots of different definitions of what a makerspace is. And then I want to also look at organization, some examples, and then hopefully we'll have time for questions. Okay. So, and each of those are also clickable links. So just know that you can also look at, you can get to any of those sections by those pages. So I have 2 children. I love art. I love kids, birds, nature. We have a second place in Big Bear. So I stay very active and love being a teacher. I've been a teacher for 24 years and now I'm a TOSA. And so I've been an instructional coach for, this is my 5th year doing that. And so that's just a little bit about me. And all 5 years being a TOSA, I worked with Makerspace. And now that it's virtual, we call it Makerplace. So if I make the error in saying Makerspace and Makerplace, it's kind of, one's virtual because they're making in their place. So that's kind of how it's changed. So why Makerspace? So I want you to understand what makes it so important. And I think it's really also important to have ways to justify and to revisit that often, so that whatever you believe Makerspace to be and the relevance that it has, that you have resources to back you up on that. You know, I'm sure some of these videos you've seen before, but how education has changed, the importance of failure, how we learn best. And there's a great book by Laura Fleming who talks about the maker movement, and it's the idea from consumption and just taking everything in to creating something and turning it into action. And I find that is my definition, is solving problems through making and being able to fail, but fail forward. So just so we have a common idea of what Makerspace is, they just use a whole bunch of stuff to solve problems. Does anybody have any questions about that? So, okay. So, sorry, this one's gonna start. Okay. Or not.
You're very formal, just came from Newsmax. The president speaks. The president speaks. The official office of former president of the United States, Donald Trump, has the former president of the United States.
Is that mine? No? Did you guys hear?
No, I think someone may have been not muted.
Oh, okay. I'm like, oh, wait, what am I? Okay, so I would like through today to be able to have you create and also use some of the ideas that I have to create meaningful makerspaces and different challenges. But I think one important thing is you just have to know why you're doing makerspace. Why are you having kids create? Is it your 4Cs? Is it because you want to create a community? So whatever that why is, like mine's solving problems by doing, that you always revisit that why, so that this way you're going right back to making sure that you're answering the question that you want. Okay, so as you go to get organized, it's important to think of like, how often do you want to do Makerspace? How is that access, supplies, accountability? So there's a lot of things to organization. So what I've found helpful, so I hope this helps you, is that if I can do the challenge in 15 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes, then I know it's kind of a manageable task for an elementary student. So I kind of do challenges between 15 and 30 minutes long. I give students a week to complete it. Since I'm an instructional coach and I don't have students specifically, I push it out to the teachers on Friday so that they can upload it into their Google Classroom, and a lot of them assign it on Monday, and then they have all week to complete it. Each week I change the challenge. And the reason why I changed the challenge is because I think it's super important to be relevant. So when it was actually hailing in Brea, I decided to have them make snowflakes, and all they needed was paper and scissors, and you would not believe how many people had never made snowflakes. So, and that it has 6 sides. And so then I taught a little bit of the science also behind it. So when it was Veterans Day, they had to rescue a stuffed animal without touching the stuffed animal. When when we were opening up the schools, they had to create a PSA for the top 3 public service announcement for the top 3 things to remember when you come back to school. So we always try to make it relevant. So it's introduced synchronously, and then they have all week to do it asynchronously. The organization of the lesson, there's 2, and I also have it linked, so feel free to click on the links. But one is through Google Slides, and I used this format when we were at school, and then I used the Google Drawing when we became a maker place. So Makerspace was the Google Slides, and Google Drawings was when we went virtual. All right, so housing, the first couple of years I created activities. The teachers, I just always sent it out to the teachers, but they could never find it again. So having one central place was really nice. So if I click on the Google Slides, then I have lessons, and it went from TK all the way through 6th grade, and each week was a new slide. Sorry, it's taking a while to load. So the organization of an activity there was like a summary or an overview, and then a career connection. And the reason why there was a career connection is because one of the schools that I work at has a career connection integrated into their magnet component. What supplies the students would need, helpful hints to help the teacher with doing it, and then links to support learning, because we have a lot of EL kids. So we had a lot of links that teachers could use. A lot of times it's videos. Okay. And so each week it was the paper bag project which was a lot like what we did at lunchtime, our lunchtime project. We had robotics. And so there's just different things where the links are embedded into one page of a slide deck. Okay. The The other way to organize it, which is what I did this year, was, where'd it go? Sorry. Was on this hybrid hyperdoc drawing. And so each week I would add a activity at the top with the presentation. And then at the bottom, I would add a matching video. So it's just me. Basically what I did was I recorded myself on Zoom where I was the only participant. I recorded myself and then I just played it back because then I know I have my little picture and it always helps when the kids can see your picture. So here are a bunch and these are all virtual. So feel free to take any of these ideas and twist them up or use the challenge at the end. How do I break it down? Well, I make sure that whatever challenge I give, and if you think back to our lunchtime challenge, that there's something that has structure, like a straw, like a paper plate. So what is it? Something that they have at home that has structure, and I have some examples there. Fasteners, a lot of times they don't have tape, but they may be able to, I teach them how to fold and how to attach things, how to use string, wire. So there's just different things that they can use for fastening and that there are surfaces involved. So something that takes space. So those are the supplies. And since they're not getting the supplies from school, they use a variety. So we had to create, when there was also snow, we did a ramp, a ski ramp. And so some kids didn't have a marble. So they used a grape, or they used someone used Play-Doh, but then they said, oh, it was too sticky. So then I got an aluminum foil ball. So they were able to, kids are able to do a variety of things. So if I click on, so here's like 6 examples of kiddos. We use Flipgrid a lot. And so if I click on Ashley's Flipgrid, we can see that the things that she used while doing it.
Okay, for Makerspace-In, I made a vending machine out of cardboard, and now my little brother will demonstrate how it works.
So they had to make something with boxes because it was after Christmas and we had all those Amazon boxes. Anyway, so there are just different ways, I think, when you give them an open challenge of saying, what can you make with boxes? That some will make totally different things. Seth made a basketball hoop in the back in his bedroom. And I know that Talia, the other example that's up there, made a jewelry box combined with a jewelry box and a clothes storage facility, you know. So some get very intricate. And I always give them the option that they can draw their idea. So it doesn't have to, they can create a prototype, right? By making something smaller, they can make the actual item, or they can draw it and label their parts. So what would they use and what would the properties be for that? And oftentimes kids can be more creative because they may not have whatever laser beams, but they can put laser beams in because they're just drawing it, you know, and they can explain themselves. So sometimes their activities are even more intricate. Okay. As far as when I share the slide deck, I always make a copy. So there's a great guy named Tony Vincent, and he has some different tools of how you can change a document so that they see it in different views, in view mode. So the 3 that I tend to use are the view mode, So you just erase all the way to edit, and then you put view or present or copy. And then it automatically does that so that they can't edit your slides. So I think another piece of organization is organizing your resources. So these are the resources I use a lot. And so I just star them and bookmark them and put them in the bookmark bar. And so they're all in the same one. Okay. And I love left brain, craft brain. A lot of these have to add the A in STEM. So it's a lot of STEAM things, STEAM stuff as far as the resources. Okay, bls.gov is a great way to find career links. And when you click on that link, it tells you the education it takes to get that job. And so sometimes I'll just be like, well, I don't know, balance. And so I just need a career that deals with balance. And so I just search balance and a couple of different careers will come up, and I'll use that to help me teach my lesson. So they talk about education, what the job does, what the pay salary is, the rate of growth. So there's some pretty cool tools on that. So what my lessons do is this is kind of the structure I do for every Makerspace that I have. I have an introduction page, something to try and like just say, this is what it's going to be called. And then I try to hook them with a real scenario, a real situation. Like I had said earlier, like one time it was Halloween. So I said, we're going to be making it, and it's COVID. So we can't actually touch the candy. So how are you going to get the candy to the trick-or-treaters without touching it? And so it's as open-ended as that, and then they go to work on it. So when the election was coming, we decided to make a secure ballot box. How can you create a ballot box that's secure? Then I connect a career. So in this example, I have steel workers as far as balance is concerned. And then I give them some background. Sometimes it's science. This is art because this guy balances rocks, which is really cool. Balances rocks, and he creates these rock gardens. And then I give them their challenge, because usually by that point, they're pretty excited. They're ready, like, okay, tell me what the challenge is. And so in this case, they had to balance, this is the first week of school, find 10 objects and try to balance them. And so some of the science that I gave them was talking about mass and center of gravity and such. And they always want to know kind of like, well, what do I get when I'm done with everything? I know you're thinking like, you get the pleasure of just, well, we're here because we were going to get something, whether it's some knowledge, what is it that they're going to get? So this year we're using badges. So I use Canva, the website Canva, to just create a badge. I use the logo link and I create a badge, and then they get to put it wherever they want. So especially the littles, they think it's really cool and they're like, nobody has it, only I do. So it's exciting. Like I said before, I always include a video of myself walking through in case a teacher is unable to assign it synchronously, because I know time is of the essence in our virtual world. So oftentimes I will, or every time, I now videotape it and I just walk through it and play everything so that this way the teacher can assign it asynchronously. So from beginning to end. And how I do it, simple as that, just open up the Zoom, record, and then you can, after you're done with your Zoom and you're done recording, you can actually trim it. And then I make sure you drag it to your drive, and then that's when you can share the options and you can share the link once it's dragged to your drive. So, any questions?
Sorry to interrupt you, Kimberly, but your screen is, we're seeing like a lot of your screen, your whole desktop, instead of just the If you could make it a little bigger, that might be better.
Oh,
Thank you. I think it went out of your browser tab when you clicked on the grid response.
okay. All right. That's a little better, right?
Yes, it's bigger now.
I'm sorry. Thank you for
No, it's
saying
okay.
that.
I was trying to find a time, but I didn't want to interrupt you.
You guys can interrupt and talk. Yeah.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Kimberly, so I'm a STEAM coordinator at my site, and I find it that sometimes it's challenging to motivate teachers and students to find time for STEAM. So I've done like school-wide STEAM challenges where I like award prizes. I did a STEAM like pickup packet, and it was more like for winter break. They picked it up, and I just find it that there's very low engagement with assuming that this is something that a lot of students look forward to when we're in person. So I usually do the STEAM activity of the month, not a week, because even that is overwhelming for some teachers. So I'm just curious how you motivate, or is it an expectation for everybody to participate? How do you go about that?
So I'm working at, great question. So I'm working at 2 different sites. One is optional, and the other one is built into our LCAP. So Makerspace is something that needs to be visited. Very, very few teachers make it mandatory. So oftentimes what motivates the kids, I get the same kids that participate, but they're generally the ones who need that, who want that, and they make time to be able to do those challenges and solve those things. The ones that I posted, the one that's optional, because some teachers were getting really worked up over how do I do one more thing. They just share the actual link. Hold on.
Can I just add a second part to that?
Yeah.
Is it done, and you might have covered it, I'm sorry. Is it done asynchronous? Or is it done?
Some teachers will do it asynchronously and some teachers will do it synchronous. Like they just intro it they intro it synchronously. And then they just say, okay, you guys, if you have any questions, it's so open-ended that I don't really care what they create, just that they've tried it.
Right. Just following up on Yvette's concern, because I'm a teacher, and because of this thing that we're going through, we don't get to cover all the standards. And so we're constantly battling as a team. Like, what are the essential standards and how much are we going to do? I mean, I love this. Please don't take me wrong. I'm just thinking of like, do I do this asynchronously, or like, where do I cut out? But thanks anyways.
Yeah, the videos that you can see kind of on the side, those videos are usually about 8 minutes long. So they can assign it asynchronously and it pretty much gives them the gist. Or sometimes a lot of teachers seem to think like, my kids need to hear somebody else's voice or they need a break. And so they'll just have it ready just in case. And so this one right here is the optional one. I do 1 week on science, 1 week on technology, and I just go back and forth. So in this week of kindness, they have to create a happy event. And so this is what's shared with kids, and they just go there from TK to 6. It's on their Seesaw or Google Classroom. Was that?
That was another question I had. Do you use the same one K through 8?
I do TK through 6. Yeah.
TK through 6. Okay, because our school is TK through 8, and I usually keep the same for the month. And I mean, every teacher adapts it differently, but this is really great to get more ideas because sometimes it's really hard to come up with something.
Yeah, exactly. One of my favorites was the hats off to 2020. So they had to create a hat that represented 2020. And so it was incredible to see how they could just create. And if teachers make it mandatory, it's really hard for the kids to enjoy themselves. When they make it optional, they just get more engagement. So that's what our schools have found. So a couple different things that I do to make sure that kids get like recognized I guess you say. I do a raffle on flippity.net. If you've never used Flippity, it's really nice and easy. And there's like 25 different things that you can create and do. So you can make flashcards. And so it's very, very simple. There's all of these different things. There's to review bingo. I did an escape room. It only took me like 10 minutes to create 10 questions. It was actually the evaluation. And so I just put, what's your name? And if they put their name in, then the lock opened. So they don't know that they're actually doing, they're just answering 10 questions. And you put a little asterisk as the answer, and any answer will do. And every time they answer another, they unlock something, they get super excited. So flippity.net is a great tool. Acknowledgements from their teachers when they say, oh, these people finished the Flipgrid or the, that's always important. Sometimes the principal will choose I try to mix it up, never have the same thing 2 weeks in a row. So it might be there's a special prize in the office for you, or it might be everybody gets listed on this, everybody gets a badge or something like that. I let them talk. Kids love to talk. And so from Flipgrid to breakout rooms, Padlet, Jamboard, all of those are ways for them to share, because nobody really wants to create something and then have nobody acknowledge that it happened, right? You want to share what you did. So those are the tools that I have as far as organization for kids, helping to motivate them, I think. So that maybe that answers your question. Some key important things is that I believe it's really important for there to be a relevance for why they're going to do the activity, that it should be pretty open-ended. It should be fun, so that it's not like graded as soon as you grade it. Oftentimes, all of a sudden there becomes this judgment, like, is mine good enough? You want it to be, if it's open-ended and everything's good enough, then all of a sudden they take more risks. I usually try to embed something unusual. So the rock garden, nobody's seen that before, and so they get super excited about, like, oh, I want to know about the rock garden. Can we do this ourselves? I try to make it easy access so that even if they have nothing at their house, they should have a piece of paper, so that no supplies doesn't take away their ability to do the challenge. And then on Flipgrid, which is kind of the hardest part, but it's actually the most fun part, is I try to always give them feedback. So when they record something, I record them, and I record back, and I'll say, like, oh, well, I saw that your snowflake had 4 sides, but I thought snowflakes had 6 sides. So my challenge to you is, can you fix that? Or can you make another snowflake that does have 6 sides? And so they would then, at least they know I've seen it. Any questions? All right. Well, I was also hoping that you guys could get a chance to like go through it and go through some of these and take a look at them, from building an outdoor home for a gnome to having, this is when fall was just happening, and so they had to make a hand grabber or something to grab 12 pumpkins, and I didn't care if the pumpkins were cotton balls or if they just had to find 12 of something, and they had to figure out how to move them without touching them. Week 8, so feel free to click on anything. Week 8 had to do with creating a puppet that told a joke. So
there was one question in the chat about keeping track of virtual badges, the badges that you give as rewards, how that's done virtually, like how the students get their badges.
it's all they have to do. So really anybody can take a badge, but I guilt them at the very beginning, like you don't deserve a badge if you didn't do it. So so all they do is have to like take it off the page and it's theirs. So, but they had to have earned it. So, and then they're like, oh, so we can't just take it. I go, well, you can, but why would you do that? You know, why would you take something that doesn't belong? Do you wear your mom's shoes too? You know, I mean, like that doesn't belong to you, you know? So, yeah, that's how I deal with that. I don't really care who has the badge. I just want them to be proud of, I want them to try. I want them to solve a problem by doing, you know?
That makes sense. There's
Yeah.
another comment in the chat that says on week 1, there's a request for access, but apparently on all of the other ones, they're open.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll change that as soon as we're done with this. Yeah, it's probably for just my district. So week 1 was always crazy. I know I don't have to tell you guys that.
These are amazing. I just, the time and the effort that has gone into creating these resources, this hub, even just this slide alone is amazing. Your whole presentation has been great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And so the goal is just to be able to have something to do on Monday. So week 3 talks about being able to open the door, but you can't touch it because of germs. So that was kind of at the very beginning, week 3, the 3rd week of school, you know, well, how are you going to open up the door? Because most germs. And so the educational piece was some of the statistics about germs and where the most common places are for germs. And so the kids were like listening and they wanted to know more. And so every time there's that personal connection, it seems to grow, you know, and I get more and more kiddos. Now, some weeks there's no interest and that's totally okay. But I figured then there's no connection for them. And that gives me a direction to go as the planner of these. I had one parent who said, yeah, every single door has a really cool attachment. Thank you, Mrs. Thorsen. So, yeah.
That's awesome to hear that feedback from families, especially where it's so stressful right now. You know, either whether it's distance learning or hybrid or whatever, those moments at home are really tough to engage kids. So
yes, and when they're to Yvette's question about like all the way through all the grade levels, when they can have a common conversation with a kindergartner who's creating a home for their gnome and a 5th grader that's creating, you know, they have this discussion that can't take place at school anymore, but they have something academic in a way to talk about. So I don't know. I love Makerspace, and I just think it gives opportunities for kids to be successful. So
absolutely, I agree.
And feel free to reach out to me if you ever have any questions or need more ideas. Both the last one, the hyperlinks page, is the page that is active that I'm working on, you know, every week. This, you know, but yeah, I think sharing ideas is super important. That's what we do. So I'm hoping that some of you get to.
Hi, sorry to interrupt. You mentioned there was a page that you're actively working on. Which one is that?
That one's looks like this right here. And I have it in the link. It's towards the beginning. This one right here. And so you can click on this where it says example.
Thank you.
No problem. Does anybody else have any other questions? I know it's been a super long day and woohoo! We're almost to the raffle, you guys.
Yes, it looks like we've just got about maybe 9 minutes here.
I love the little drawings that you're giving at the end of the presentation. But I'm having a little trouble changing the colors. I mean, I can change the line and some of the filling and stuff. what am I missing?
Are you talking about Canva? Or, I'm sorry.
No, in at the end of your makerspace, at the end of your presentation, there's several slides with.
Oh, so all of these, okay, so yeah, I just didn't delete them.
Those, yeah.
SlideGo. Do you know about slidego.com?
No.
So SlideGo is a great tool if you're doing a presentation. Have you ever heard of Slides Carnival?
No.
Oh, well, you got to know
I
about
know nothing.
So no, you know lots of stuff. It's just not this. So slidesgo.com, it has a whole bunch of presentations that are already set up. And so you can say, oh, I want one in education. And you can click on education. And now you have all of these different presentations to choose from. And it goes on and on and on. And at the end of each of the, which is where I got mine, at the end of it has all of these extra graphics for you to choose from. It tells you it's the color palette of it. And so see that says slides go. And then you can change it and edit it and make it however you like. And all of these are just different icons that you can use in your presentation. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. Awesome. I have come across the slide. I just never really know of it. I kind of went through a curated version that some other people have put through and they've taken me there, but I haven't really known how that I could go there myself and just look.
Exactly. And then you just have to make a copy either as Google Slides or as PowerPoint. Those are your two choices. So, and then it makes you a copy and then you can make as many changes as you want.
I had a question, Kimberly. Do you ever embed like the engineering design process into it, like an engineering notebook or something like that into your STEAM activities?
Yes. In fact, at the very beginning, week 2, they had to make a mobile. Because at first I thought I'm going to do 2 weeks on one subject. And then that didn't really, it didn't really pan out. So then I said, oh, okay, I guess that's not going to work out. Because I couldn't think of a second week on the next one. So, but at the end of it, I have some assessment. I have a Makerspace notebook. For the upper grades would use it more than the lower grades. Sorry, I'm just waiting for it to load and I'll show you where it is. It's just on the end of one of the weeks. Maybe that's it. Yeah, Makerspace. And so the 3 questions that I always think is, I always tell the teachers, if nothing else, just say what worked, what didn't work, and what would happen if you had 5 more minutes. And so those are the 3 things that I always go back to that kids can always talk about. Like there's always something that worked, always something that didn't. And then there's always the next step, you know? And I think it's a good way to, so this was on week 1 on balance. They had to put a picture of evidence that supports what they wrote, and then a vocabulary word and give an example. And it kind of replicates, what worked, what didn't work in your evidence. Then claim, evidence, reasoning, or claim, in 2 pieces of evidence. What do you believe to be true? And then it kind of repeats itself, what worked, what didn't work. So that's kind of what we use for accountability. But then what they found was the kids weren't doing it because they didn't want to have to do more work. They wanted to just have fun. And if it took more than an hour or, they didn't really enjoy themselves as much, it was too much. It was like, come on, I just wanted to play and have fun. I didn't want to have to, you know, spend 3 hours on the same idea. You know, I'm over it.
Thank you. No, but I like the short, condensed version of it.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I'm sorry, one more question. So what do you do the next year? You repeat the activities or do you come up with completely new ones?
So far, I've always taken and tweaked the activities because it's sometimes they're relevant and sometimes they're not. So I may take the election ballot box. Well, there's no election, really, you know, election's not going to be a big thing next year, but maybe I want to make a Valentine's Day box, you know. And so how do you make a Valentine's Day box that's secure? Because maybe we'll be in person then. So I kind of redo the STEM challenges based on what's on Pinterest oftentimes. And I just look and see, oh, kids could create something like that, you know, a bug catcher. Or remember when we had mosquitoes a lot, or in our little area, we had mosquitoes. So that was a real hot topic. So we had to create a mosquito catcher. And so it was pretty open-ended, but it was kind of just taking the same ideas and tweaking them. And so.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, we're about 2 minutes away. I think our rooms are going to start closing automatically around 3:30.
One thing for those of you looking at doing STEMmy type work or some kind of makerspace work, Floor Engineering does an engineering design challenge through Science Buddies every year. And it's really engaging and uses really simple materials. And for this year's challenge, they even simplified the materials even more to where you just need some really basic stuff to where kids could even more likely have stuff to do this at home. And even better yet, for the Floor Engineering Challenge, you know, if you submit your kids' work and their time, because there's a rating system and it really walks the kids through the engineering design process. If you submit your work and the work participating in it, you're up for a possible $1,000 grant from Floor.
Sean,
Is there
can
a
you put the
website?
link in the chat?
Yeah, the link.
Yeah, I'll get you a link right now. Hold on one second.
Quick, because he gave us a minute countdown.
Yeah.
Did
Thanks.
you say floor? Floor, as in
FLUOR.
LUR.
And Science Buddies is actually on one of those resources, which I think is where you can get to that also.
Here we go. I got it right here. Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
Let's see if he can beat it.
Race against the clock. There we go. Everyone click on it.
Quick,
ScienceBuddies.org, I think it is. Science.
Yep.
There we go. Yeah. Thank you so much, Kim, and thank you, Sean, for chiming in. Thanks everyone for being here today. We'll see you all back in the main session.
Good luck on the raffle, everybody.